world, our Executive Director, Dallin Young.
Thank you, Joe. And I think that's a little insensitive now because we do have Carolyn Chase for Earth Day, who's also putting on Earth Day today, or this weekend. So she's actually the hardest working nonprofit leader right now. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you guys all for coming out tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for your support. We got a lot going on tonight, so we'll just kind of jump into it here. First off, we'd like to thank our sponsors, everybody that comes to make these meetings possible. First off, thank you so much, Stone Brewery, for having us. If you haven't gotten a beer or anything to drink or eat, please do so. They provide this room for us for free, and so we're very thankful for that, so please make it worth their while. Second, we have eLive Life, who's sponsoring this event too. They are in the back. Vanessa, if you want to come say a quick thing.
You gotta build a dead air.
I'm Vanessa with elivelife.com, and we're a network of independently owned day spa, massage, holistic health, and beauty practitioners throughout San Diego County. We are going to be doing a raffle prize this evening for day spa and massage services of your choice, gift certificates. And then we have a table at the back with gift cards, free things that various businesses, and then we also have 5 day spa massage services gift certificates for $99. And you can give them as gifts and they don't expire.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vanessa. Also, if you are planning to come to Earth Fair on Sunday for the Cannabis Village, and you get a VIP ticket, you will get one of those in your VIP bags as well. So it's an awesome gift, and yeah, come and join us in the VIP section at Cannabis Village. Next, we have Sugar Leaf Insurance. Justin will be speaking just for a couple minutes about insurance here a little bit later in the program. So thank you, Sugar Leaf Insurance. And we clap. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And lastly, we have Patty Harris from Patty Cakes who put this on too. So thank you very much, Patty. Give her a couple minutes to come talk about her products as well here.
Thank you, Dallin. Okay, I came tonight because I wanted to promote this movie, Mary Jane's film. It's about women in the cannabis industry, and I'm still looking for sponsorship, so I left flyers out in the front. If you're interested, please talk to me about being a sponsor. I want to promote this to the public. I want lots of people. We found a beautiful venue, Baker Hills Club, Sports Club. They hold 350 people capacity, and I'm very excited to have our movie be there. So please talk to me, hopefully, the movie is May 24th, and the doors will open at 6. And then we'll have the movie. There'll be a question and answer period, and there will also be a chance for people in the cannabis industry to interface with the public. So please support us and look at the trailer. It's maryjanesfilm.com. It's a very good movie. I'm excited about it. Yeah, Melissa Etheridge is in it.
Yeah, there's a son right there. Melissa, she's awesome. Thank you very much, Patty. Thank you very much for sponsoring tonight's event. Next, just have a quick message from Chris Siegel, who was our president. Chris, he's usually at the bar at this point. Oh, he's not this time. Okay, good.
Hey guys, here you are, the cannabis community, the future of cannabis. It's awesome. Right now, where the cannabis industry is at, we all have the highest probability of having our passion, our vision become reality, whether it's plant touching, whether it's non-plant touching. And I know there's a lot of questions and regulations and bumps and hiccups, but through those regulations and bumps and hiccups, there's opportunity. And so when you think that you can't push through because you think the bigger guys are coming on board, that's when you can really push through with your vision. So don't stop. Come to groups like this and stay plugged in. Stay next to the cannabis professionals that you can offer your services to. Because whatever you guys are doing in the industry, these folks in the room, you guys have to network with each other to offer your services and offer your goods to them. So you've taken the first step in aligning yourself with a group that's going to put you in a position in an industry that's forever changing. So thank you for believing in the Association of Cannabis Professionals, and I definitely believe in you guys as the future of cannabis. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. All right, now for some fun stuff. So next we got some legislative updates. So a couple big things have happened in the last few weeks since our last meeting. We got Oceanside actually passed their ordinance, I believe it was about 2 weeks ago. There was a second reading of their ordinance, which was, it wasn't the most exciting. It could have been a little bit better. So just a little bit of update on that one. So what Oceanside did pass was we got cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, testing, and nurseries all in Oceanside, which is a big step. So yeah, it's good. So the only hesitation on that one is they didn't give us any retail. So now we don't have anywhere for it to go, which is the problem. So on that one, we're still working on a few things there. We're still doing some lobbying and advocacy work up in Oceanside. The other caveat of that is that it is only for medical. It's not adult use. So still a lot we have to move forward on. They will be accepting applications and kind of working through that process and everything over the next few months. But you know, they're going to be having a workshop on June 20th where they're going to be researching and actually discussing more of the retail ordinance in Oceanside. So there still is some light at the end of the tunnel. We still might be able to move the ball a little bit on that one. So as of right now, we have manufacturing, cultivation, distribution, testing, nurseries, all of that in Oceanside right now, but we are still missing retail. So still is a little bit more work to do there, as well as getting us some adult use in Oceanside too. Secondly, there was an initiative that was filed in Encinitas about 2 weeks ago that the ACP will be backing. And that one is going to be pushing for it's basically everything. So manufacturing, cultivation, distribution, retail, hemp, and testing all in Encinitas. So we're supposed to get back the ballot title and summary from the city clerk today, or the city attorney today. I got to check on that one. Haven't had time to look into that one. So there will be some movement in Encinitas. We'll probably be able to start gathering signatures there for that initiative by the end of this week, if not early next week. So keep a lookout for that one. That is really exciting. If you haven't been paying attention to what happened in Encinitas, was actually last year they were working on an ordinance. Council decided that they were going to kick the can down the road and they were going to send it to the ballot in November. But what they were trying to put forward was strictly for medical only cultivation and delivery. And that was all that they were trying to give us. And that was a big issue because it was only delivery into Encinitas, not actually delivery from Encinitas. And so once that was killed by council, they decided they weren't going to put it on the ballot, and then that's when we decided that we were going to try and give the community something that they could vote on here in November. So we are going to be working in Encinitas. We keep an eye on that one. We're really excited about that one here moving forward. So that's all I got for legislative updates, unless anybody else can jog my memory about anything else I'm missing. Okay, so that's what we got right there. Next, we have our events update, and we got a big event coming up on Sunday that we actually have Carolyn Chase here from Earthworks, who is organizing all of Earth Fair. Please give her a huge round of applause. I know she's thoroughly exhausted right now.
Oh gosh, this is 29 years. So, hi everybody. Okay, let's see who's here. Well, how many of you have heard of Earth Day? Okay. How many of you have been to an Earth Day fair in Balboa Park? How many of you were at Cannabis Village last year? How many of you are going to be there on Sunday? Okay. I brought the program guide is in the center here. There are some updates to the stage schedules from what's published in here. But I'd also like to call attention to an article in here entitled Clean Cannabis, because part of my personal research, it was a dirty job, but somebody had to do it. I visited all the licensed retail locations in San Diego and looked at their inventory and tried a few things, and I wrote a little article about it, but from the perspective of where are we at with respect to sustainability, environment, and what I call clean cannabis. And there's a lot of work to do, and I'm hoping that we can work together to improve that, because we have some amazing and very fascinating vendors in Cannabis Village on Sunday, including Flo Kana. There's this big article about that today, about what they're trying to do for the folks in Humboldt. And just so you know, there will be 63 groups in Cannabis Village on Sunday. So that's like a little bit of everything. There are people doing clothing, there's a lot of CBDs, there's a lot of sustainable packaging. There's just, I mean, I've learned so much just by reading the exhibitors that are there. And let me see, overall there's 361 exhibitors, so there's 63 out of 361 are cannabis related, that's almost 20%. One other thing for those, there'll be food vendors at the top of Cannabis Village. And and there's also food across down by the beer garden at the bottom of Cannabis Village where we will have kombucha, Bushcraft kombucha. And so you can have the beer at the bottom with next to the VIP area, right? Sponsored by Urban League. Thank you very much. And at the top there's food, and all the proceeds benefit the Earth Fair because it's free to the public and it's a challenge to pay for. And I do thank the Association for Cannabis Professionals. And where's Dion? Dion around? I want to thank Dion Markgraf for, it was his concept, his idea, and he's been working to bring it to fruition. And he has gotten Dolores Huerta, who have heard of Dolores Huerta, founder of United Farm Workers. She's 88 years young, and she's going to be the Grand Marshal for the parade, which we are announcing for the first time in Spanish this year. We have 3 announces, 2 in English, 1 in Spanish. What else? I think that's it. If you're working the event, I recommend you get enough staffing so that you can take a break, because there's, a couple hundred other groups. It's one-stop shopping, what you can do the rest of the year after Earth Day. If you have any questions, you can probably reach me in my office. The fact that I'm here tonight shows that things are going okay. And I have to say, you will all appreciate the fact that as I stand here before you right now, we have been issued all the permits required to have this event. It's probably my biggest skill, actually, is getting stuff done out of the city.
Yes.
That's like 15 different departments and the ABC.
Yep.
So I feel your pain. I think that's it. If I forget anything, if you have any questions about one last thing. We have something on our website, earthdayweb.org. You can search for cannabis vendors. We have a search engine, so you can put in what you're interested in. You can find out exactly where they are at the event. So if you only have an hour, you can check in advance and be focused about what you're interested in. And don't be traffic on Earth Day. We have free valet bike parking. Lyft is having a 20% discount. What else? Bike parking. Oh, we'll park scooters and skateboards and stuff like that too. But all the parking, free parking, there's no reserve parking. It'll all be done by about 9:30 in the morning. The event's from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The parade starts at 10:30. And, there's some free Avengers Infinity War. That's the movie that's coming out, right? Walt Disney called us up, gave us a little money, and said we're going to bring free Avengers Infinity War merch. So t-shirts, a couple little bobblehead things called Funkos or something, tote bag. I predict they'll be gone by within the first hour, maybe 2 hours. But it's right across from Cannabis Village, across from where the food area that you have to pass through to find it. Hey, Dion. I was just acknowledging you. Thank you for fulfilling all your dreams in Cannabis Village. I really sincerely understand what happened without you, and thank you for getting Dolores Huerta there and all of your hard work on this issue for so many years. Your dedication to an important plant. Do you have anything you want to say about Sunday or the stage schedule and all that stuff?
All this stuff.
I turn it over to Dion.
Yes. Thanks, Carolyn.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Do take at our times and check out Clean Cannabis. I'd love y'all to hear about it and get some activity going on that. Sometime I'd like to come back and do a little presentation about it.
Absolutely.
So thanks, and hopefully everybody be safe on Sunday and don't break the law. Don't ruin my permit day by bringing stuff and smoking stuff you shouldn't in a public park. Just saying. The cops will be looking for you.
So, real quick, I want to thank Carolyn for allowing us to be a part of this event. It's kind of like a dream of mine. I've been working my whole life for this very moment. That's why I was late to get here. So it's hopefully a marriage of 2 industries that need to come together, cannabis and eco-consciousness. Now that we've also legalized hemp here in California, it's actually a bigger business opportunity than the cannabinoid side. So I'm really happy that Sunday's going to be finally here. Been working very hard and with Dallin and the ACP. So I'm super excited. A lot of cool stuff is going to happen. We're going to do our best, and it's going to be super cool because, you know, I think we have the, you know, the moments of our lives right here in front of us. We have all these powerful forces coming together. You know, we got legal cannabis, we got an awesome San Diego, awesome weather. You know, we could really like be the forefront of the whole cannabis revolution if we so choose. So I'm glad this is an opportunity for us to come together and show our, you know, political might also. I'm very proud that we're going to have a couple political candidates, especially Genevieve Jones-Wright. You know, she will have the ultimate power in our county to decide who gets arrested and who doesn't. And it's also a great sign of the revolution that we have a sheriff's candidate. So really we have the two most powerful positions in San Diego that'll be speaking from our stage. So I think that's a reflection of the revolution. So let's celebrate on Sunday, and hopefully we're not too hungover from 420.
Thank you, Dion. Yeah, so I do want to highlight one thing that's happened throughout the process that was actually a big kind of kink that we were able to work out, and it comes to this education and why we do events like this. So when some of our vendors are actually applying for their temporary food permits or, you know, just temporary permits for things that they were selling, they told the county that they were going to be selling CBD products. And what the county came back and said is, no, you can't sell CBD products because of cannabis issues. And so then we had a big conversation with them, and we were able to tell them, like, no, this is all hemp-based CBD, which is different than cannabis-based CBD. And so then they went up to their higher-ups and everything like that, looked up some of the different laws, and now the county seems to be a little bit more educated on CBD, which is something that they didn't have before. So it's events like this that make that happen, that make that possible. So, and once again, I do want to just please give Carolyn a round of applause. She's been fighting for us this entire time. Thank you so much for everything, Carolyn. So, I just want to make sure we have enough time for our main speakers. So I know I have some candidates here. If we can move that to the end for a couple of minutes at the end, if that's okay. Great, thank you. So let's jump into some of our main speakers. So we have Justin Joseph from Sugar Leaf Insurance that's going to be speaking to us a little bit about insurance and how important it is in the cannabis industry as of now. So Justin, you come on up.
Cool.
Pass the mic off to you. If you want a little bit more of an intro. Joseph is a beautiful man. He's amazing. We're very grateful for him to be here. And he also looks very great. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. And here we have Paul Walker, at least his other brother, I feel like. Cool. So I had a bunch of stuff I was going to talk about, and then I realized I don't want to get too technical necessarily up here. If you want, you can talk to me or my associate Jesse, who's going to be here in a little bit for more info anytime. But let's go over some of the basics. And first of all, thank you guys for having us here. Chris, Dallin, Dion, everyone here, thank you for having us. I appreciate it. I want to start off with a question for the audience. How many people here are actually already operating in a business in the cannabis space? Okay, cool. So I was expecting and hoping to see a lot of hands. How many people have insurance and know what they've got and fully understand it currently? Yeah, exactly. So one of the big issues with insurance in the cannabis space that I've seen directly is agents writing a policy and writing it under a different code to get the policy written, because the underwriters will not write them in the cannabis space in the business they're operating in, because either they touch flower or some sort of product, or they're moving, like, it's just a risky business to them. So you may have a policy that's not even actually covered when it comes down to you having an issue. So keep that in mind. I would definitely have your policies reviewed, look at it yourself, find out that it covers what you need. Now, first thing I want to bring up is some of the requirements. So a lot of us are looking for licensing, right? So I can't really speak on a lot of things like legally, but I can tell you as far as insurance goes, there's a couple things you need. You need a surety bond to apply for a license to the state, right? So it's $5,000 at the moment, and you need to get that handled before you're applying. You need to have everything in order. If you're in manufacturing, you need to have a general liability policy at the moment before you can get the license. So that's the last information as I've checked. Very important. And then again, local municipalities. So you got the state requirements and then local municipalities. And it's always been like that for everything cannabis. You've got to figure out what does the local city or county want you to do to get licensing or to operate. And for example, the city of Oakland. So Oakland right now, they require a general liability policy with at least $1 million in coverage per occurrence. So I know this is probably some boring technical stuff here, but very important. $1 million is pretty standard. General liability, it's like a policy everybody's got when they operate in business. Protects you from slips and falls and like your employee damaging other people's property, lots of things that just can happen you don't really think about. Another big thing that comes into play is it comes with, it's paired with product liability. So for people that are manufacturers to sell a product, this is really, really important for you. You need to make sure your policy covers you. Like, I'm saying this because one, this is what I do. Two, I care about you, I want to see things go well. Stuff happens. With general liability and a product liability policy, which are usually paired together, right? Say, I'll give you an incident of what can happen. So you make a product and someone's using it down the road and something happens, they have an adverse reaction to one of your products and they decide to like file a suit. This stuff happens. We've seen it in energy drinks, like very common, for example, and we've already seen some suits in the cannabis space. Like you have users that don't necessarily, we really respect the plant here, right? I think we all really respect the plant. We've come a long way to go from, yes, there is medical use, yes, we actually like it for recreational, but you can't just mess around with this. That's why we don't dress it up like candy. You don't have a Snickers bar, you don't have like Snackers, the cannabis Snickers, you know, you don't do that for obvious reasons. But yeah, we've had suits happen already, so people don't know what they're doing. You want to protect yourself, and we want to see you in business for the long term, and I have a feeling everybody in here is for the long term. I don't think we're all here for some sort of cash grab. We're here because we care, we like what we do, or some other reason. So yeah, product liability, like very important. There's an example of something you should think about. Directors and officers. So you've got board members, investors, directors and officers. There's coverage for, in the case you make some sort of claim or you're doing something in the course of business and you get into some trouble, it's going to keep them safe and the business. So that's something you might want to speak with an insurance company about. Let's see, I said I don't want to get too technical into things. Does anybody have a business they operate in? They're like kind of curious, like, shoot, what do I do to protect myself? Or you're a little concerned?
I'd be curious about whether or not you guys are offering crop insurance for medical cannabis or hemp, because I know a lot of farmers don't want to switch to hemp because they can continue to grow soy and corn and have crop insurance. So is that something that you guys are doing? Or
that's so true. Didn't we see fires this past year that burned up a lot of up north, a lot of farms? Like no coverage. I don't know how many people had or if anybody had coverage. How scary is that? Bums me out to hear. But yeah, there is coverage now. So that's like your property insurance, and that's not in your typical like general liability. So that's something you just, again, you've got to make sure you're covered for, and that's where you want to speak to a professional, of course. Just play the game smart. Like here you've got some friends, like you speak to me or Jesse who will be here soon, like we'll give you tons of advice. Just ask us and we'll help you. Like we're friends here, we're family. So ask us and we'll help you figure that out. Good question there. Let me see, I think there might have been like one or two other things I wanted to cover. So workman's comp, I'll get you in one sec. Workman's comp and commercial auto, just remember that stuff. Like workers' comp, if you hire, a lot of people try this 1099 game like Uber. They kept the right to do it. But if you're giving someone a schedule and giving them set hours, like they're your employee. They work for you. So you have to, that's like mandatory, you must have workers' comp. And I know we're here with a lot of professionals, but I've seen so many people not understand how to professionally operate a business. I just want to stress, you know, doing it right. You had a question over there?
Oh, yeah. I was wondering if you have any like general or like real world examples, because the industry hasn't been legal that long. You know, we have a lot of people haven't been doing insurance. Have we actually gone through some cycles of claims and what have happened?
Oh man, I was like reading a handful of them today, and I swear, like I always remember, and then I get up here with the mic, and I'm like, oh crap, what is that? I want to start to give you a couple, but I don't want to butcher them at all. But I will say there has been some court precedence cases, like specifically in like Colorado, for example, where one of the ones I can remember, like attorneys have gotten the right to represent clients for legal representation, and that was a big deal without things being federally legal. It was like, can I even insure and cover someone? Can an attorney really represent someone when there's a federal illegality there? And in the court cases, I think it was like Ohio, Colorado, like a few states, we've already won that, like, yes, we can represent and protect the industry. Speak with me after and I'll give you my info, and like, I'll give you a couple of really good cases. And yeah, I've been here for a while, so.
One more question. One more. By the commercial vehicle insurance, that include transportation of cannabis product transport licensing?
Yeah, and that's a big one. There's actually two policies you want. Oh, you know what? Thank you for saying that. And this will be the last question anyways. We could talk later, but it was like commercial transportation, basically with cannabis product. Yeah, I mean, you have commercial auto. That's not necessarily going to protect all your product, but there's coverages for that. We want to bundle to get you a discount on that. Like property protection is going to cover more of like your cannabis product. So if you bundle that and package it correctly, you'll be covered. But again, like these are unprecedented cases. So you want to make sure you've really reviewed it, make sure you're actually protected. Very unprecedented. And like we'll speak after because I know I've spoke for a while. I just want to thank everyone for having me up here. Thank you for being here, and yeah, let's do this. Let's have a good year. One plug.
Plug it.
SugarINS.com. That's our website. And Justin Joseph's my name. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just message me and say hey, you know, anytime. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much, Justin. Really appreciate that. Yeah, also, he'll be around, and Jesse's partner will be around at the end as well to answer any other questions. So, all right, so now let's get to our main speaker of the night. I'd like to introduce the Deputy State Treasurer, Tim Schaefer. He has flown all the way down from Sacramento to be here tonight. Just do a quick little bio for him. Tim Schaefer is Deputy Treasurer for Public Finance for California Treasurer John Chang. Prior to joining the Treasurer's office, he was then State Controller John Chang's Senior Finance Advisor. Before entering state service, Tim was the principal owner of Magis Advisors, a public finance consulting firm in Orange County, California. He has more than 40 years of experience in municipal security in the municipal securities industry. He is the co-author of the California Public Funds Investment Primer, published by CDIAC in 2006. He was part of a 4-person team engaged in early 2014 to edit and revise the California Debt Issuance Primer, and also published by CDIAC. Sorry if I'm butchering this. I'm sorry. He is a featured speaker in the field of public finance, and with that, I'll give the mic over to Deputy State Treasurer Tim Schaefer. Thank you so much.
Okay, sound check. Can everybody hear me in the back of the room? All you Catholics in the back of the room, can you hear me? Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. Now, I get to say this, and I don't want to put a chill on the room, but do we have any media in the room? Do we have any media in the room? I just want to be... Okay, I just want to be clear that unless I tell you otherwise, I'm expressing my personal view and not the view of a candidate. Okay, that's important for me to say that to you under state law, because I am a state employee. I work for you. All right. So, and if there's any doubt about that, or if you're media and you want to put me on the record, please come and see me, put me on the record, and I'll be glad to go on the record for you. I just want to be clear about where we're doing that. So why am I here tonight? When Prop 64 was passed in November of 2016, the state treasurer had already been working on the issue of banking cannabis businesses for close to 2 years. It was one of the first assignments I was given when he was inaugurated as state treasurer. And I wish I could report to you that this is a simple subject. It is not. It is vexingly complex. It's like a Russian novel. It has multiple storylines, a cast of characters who sometimes have very dark personalities, and my fear is that when I get to the end of the book, everybody's going to be dead. Okay? I hope that's not the case. Dr. Zhivago, exactly. So now I'm going to bore you for a couple of minutes, and when I'm done boring you, I'm going to ask for some interactivity here. I'd love to take your questions, hear your challenges. Remember, I'm a state employee, so I work for you, okay? If I don't have the answer, I will take an appropriate step back and punt and give you my number and tell you to call me in the office. And I also want to encourage you, because this is important when you do the kind of work I do. It's important that when you see us doing something well, please give us a call and say so. And similarly, when you see us not doing it so well, please give us a call and say so. In that latter case, I would appreciate it if you would be polite while you're doing it, but do be direct. I've had constituents call and say, boy, did you screw that up. And if you can't stand hearing that, you're not supposed to take the kind of job I've got. All right, so Prop 64 passes in November of 2016, and the treasurer called for the creation of an ad hoc group called the Cannabis Banking Working Group. Because the issue being presented to the treasurer, the state's banker, is that cannabis businesses couldn't get access to banking services. Now, incidentally, you're not alone. There are any number of businesses which are, at times, very significantly challenged to get banking relationships. True, you are unique, okay? And I'll come back to that in a moment. But payday lenders, automobile title loan companies, card rooms, casinos, all of these kinds of businesses enjoy some degree of restriction on the kind of banking services that they can generally access. And it's because these businesses present a channel for money laundering, illegal activities, and things that frankly scare the folks in Washington to death. Now that doesn't mean that anybody's doing anything wrong. It just means that the bank, and you'll hear some comments on this in a moment, has some extra duties. Because after 9/11, effectively, the federal government deputized banks to help it follow illegal flows of money that were being used for terrorist activities. And so, while I have only a modicum of sympathy for large banks, I will grudgingly concede this to them. And that is that under our system, the bank does take some responsibility for things. That's the jaws of the problem that you're being trapped in, okay? All right, so Prop 64 passes, the treasurer puts together this ad hoc group. There were 4 classes of members. Government, and that included the Board of Equalization, the Employment Development Department, the Franchise Tax Board, the Department of Business Oversight, the Bureau of Medical Cannabis Regulation, Business Consumer Services Housing Agency, we love those acronyms in Sacramento, the Department of Justice, that's the Attorney General, and the Department of Insurance. The second group was representing the industry. California Growers Association, the Cannabis Industry Association, and a law firm that represents the industry. I'm going to come back and talk about that one in a moment also. Then there were other government agencies. You just heard from your prior speaker talking about Encinitas and Oceanside. The League of California Cities, which is the organization of all 482 cities in California, sat on this working group, as did the State Association of Counties. And then finally, the financial industry. The California Bankers Association, which generally represents the large banks, the Independent Bankers Association, which generally represents the smaller community banks, and the California Credit Union League were represented. All right, so the group conducted 6 or 7, time flies when you're having fun, 6 or 7 public hearings throughout the state. We were down here for one of those hearings. The hearings generally ran 5 or 6 hours. We asked for witnesses, gave the public an opportunity to speak. Perhaps some of you came to one of those events or spoke at one of those events. The result of all of that was this. This is a report that the group prepared, which is a pathway or a map forward. And that's going to be the subject of what I'd like to talk about next. Now, this is not designed like some other government bureau. I know what you're thinking. Come on. I know what you're thinking. There's another government bureaucrat wrote a report and it isn't going to help me. Okay? It's not what this is. This is intended to be a call to action. I can promise you that I've got lots of important things to do every day. I'm responsible for the 3 largest divisions in the Treasurer's office. Trust me, I've got things to keep my little happy hands busy hands all day. But this is important, and this requires the kind of gravitas that somebody in our business, in the Treasurer's office, can bring to the table. So this is the roadmap we're using going forward. There are 4 recommendations in here, which I'll expose in just a moment. So the problem is, I'm not telling you anything you haven't figured out, that cannabis access to banking services faces the obstacles to access to those banking services because of the scheduling of cannabis as a Schedule 1. It is technically illegal for financial institutions to accept marijuana-related businesses as customers if, by doing so, the bank is aiding and abetting something that would produce a risk to the safety and soundness of the American banking system. What did he just say? Bank regulators are not concerned with whether or not the bank charges us too much if we overdraw our account. Bank regulators are not concerned about whether or not the rate of interest the bank pays us on our accounts is fair and appropriate. Bank regulators are concerned about making sure that any bank in the U.S. banking system does not represent a pinhole leak that can explosively rupture the entire financial system. Think about what happened in 2008. Think about the period from March of 2008 through October 2008. We had consolidations and bank failures that literally brought our economy to its knees. That metastasis started in the banking system. So bank regulators are very intently focused on that. So when a bank wants to engage with a customer who is in a marijuana-related business or a cannabis business, the regulator is mostly concerned not about some moralistic view. The bank is concerned about whether or not there's something going on. The regulator, rather, is concerned about whether or not there's something going on that the bank can't see that would present a larger risk. That's a really important nuance because it will help you, I hope, navigate this landscape over the next couple of years because it is changing and it's going to change. And this is going to be one of the catalysts to that. So the treasurer convened this interagency working group, and the charge was pretty simple. What can we do to fix it? Well, the short answer is actually quite a lot, but not in a straight line, and unfortunately with no silver bullet. But there are practical ways that the banking system can be improved. Please know that federal law provides protection from civil liability for all reports of suspicious transactions. And yes, whether we like it or not, when you go to the bank, that's a suspicious transaction. Called a SAR, a Suspicious Activity Report, that are made to appropriate authorities. The law provides, however, that a bank and its officers and employees that makes a disclosure using a SAR, quote, shall not be liable to any person under any law of the United States. Dwell on that for a minute. So if I'm a bank, you bring me a deposit, an opportunity to open a new account for you, and I say there's something suspicious about this, and I file that SAR, I'm now off the hook, personally. Is the bank off the hook? Not yet. So, the banks have been relying for a number of years on a series of legal memoranda issued by the United States Attorney General. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so you lawyers in the room, if I get this wrong, make allowances for me. I'm just a money guy. Those guidance memoranda are known collectively as the Cole Memo, C-O-L-E, and it's named after Deputy Attorney General James Cole. There are actually 3 of them. 4 if you get really expansive and go back about 15 years. A memorandum written by a Deputy Attorney General by the name of Ogden, Cole number 1, which was issued in 2013, and Cole number 2, which was issued in 2014. Collectively, these Cole memoranda were then embodied in guidance given by FinCEN. Oh my God, I'm surprised that the heads aren't hitting the table at this point. FinCEN is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Where does FinCEN live? It lives in the U.S. Treasury Department. Who else lives in the U.S. Treasury Department? The IRS. Okay. Who else lives in the Treasury Department? Say it again. No, but they are part of FinCEN. Part of Secret Service. Thank you. Okay. All right. So now you understand why I gave you the Russian novel thing. Okay. You literally need a scorecard to keep track of all these folks. So the regulators look up and say, well, if FinCEN has given guidance to the banks, here's the guidance that they have given. Okay. Now here's an audience participation test. I'm going to read you a statement, and then I'm going to ask you who you think said this. And I'm quoting. Separately, recent remarks, it's on the subject that we're here about tonight. Quote, separately, recent remarks by government officials, particularly those from law enforcement and senior regulators, are creating a negative environment. Let's have a laugh on that one, okay? All right. The constant message that banking institutions will be prosecuted for any missteps produces an environment where risk avoidance becomes risk management. Cole said, if you're a bank and you want to bank a marijuana business, here are the things you need to do. It didn't say don't bank the marijuana business. It said if you choose to do it, do these things. This message is responding to that. It goes on. Therefore, it should be no surprise to government authorities when institutions manage risk by eliminating products and services, including money service business. I talked about them, check cashing services, for example. Embassy and consulate accounts, because that's money from offshore, and marijuana businesses. When costs and risk outweigh any benefits from an account relationship, that is a logical, and one might almost say, safe and sound solution, close quote. Who said that? Multiple choice. A federal regulator, a politician, or somebody from your industry. Who thinks it was the first? 3 or 4 hands, 5 hands. Okay. Who thinks it was the second, a politician? Maybe a few more. Who thinks it was the third, someone from the cannabis industry? You're pretty evenly divided. It was the first, it was a federal regulator. It was a federal regulator that made that statement. I still carry this around, all right? Therefore, it should be no surprise to government authorities when institutions manage risk by eliminating products and services. Institutions will be prosecuted. Those are some pretty inflammatory words. All right, so that's what led to the 8 public hearings. Now, the regulator incidentally was the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Just in case you're curious, Yogi would say you could go to that.
I'm not Catholic, but can you speak up, please?
Sure.
I used to be Catholic.
I know, so did I. Okay.
Thanks for talking about it.
Thank you. All right. So what's going to happen next? Now I want to take some questions from you. The report that I'm referring to made 4 specific recommendations. And the 4 recommendations in the report, I'm going to have to cheat, make sure I get them in the right order here. The 4 recommendations, is that too loud now? The 4 recommendations are, first, the state should encourage the creation of a database. Bankers love information. Remember that Cole memorandum that said if you're going to be in the business, you need to know something about your customer? Bankers love having information. They want to know where the money came from. Are there any sales to minors? Is there interstate commerce involved? Is there foreign money that's creeping into the system? The database that the group envisioned would be available to the state regulators, and to local governments, and to banks, so that the bank could see that licensees, people who were seeking to behave in accordance with the law, were making enough information available so that if one of the regulators, the licensing agency, pulled the license because somebody was doing something badly, that the bank would know about that and not have to find out on its own. All right, that's recommendation number 1. Recommendation number 2 was, recommendation number 2 was that the state should take some interim steps right now to create a safe way to transport money involved in collection of taxes. We can't solve the big problem, let's solve it incrementally. Let's at least put people in a position where if we're going to stick our hand out and ask for $50,000 licensing fees, that you're not driving a Prius down Highway 101 with $50,000 in greenbacks sitting on the seat next to you. Okay? Just seems kind of intuitive. Willie Sutton was asked, why do you rob banks? And he said, because that's where the money is. So we certainly don't want to put anybody who is seeking to become a lawful actor in a position where they're in grave peril because they're carrying around large sums of money. That process is underway, and it is bumpy, I promise you. With a state this big where you have such a huge geography, it is extremely challenging to just get currency from one place in the state to a taxing agency. But I promise you it is underway. State law has been changed to allow for, I believe it's 11 or 12 collection points throughout the state. Our office is involved right now with a proposal with the administration that would set up what I refer to as armored car bus routes. This is where you send an armored car on an assigned route like a city bus and say, stop at your agent, your distributor location, yours, give you an 800 number to call. I need somebody to come pick up my tax payments, so that you don't have to take the currency and put it on the front seat of the car and drive it down Highway 101. Now, have we taken away the risk to you in your place of business? Not yet, but you gotta start somewhere. That proposal is presently cooking. I hope to see it go somewhere by the end of 2018. The third recommendation was to create a consortium. I know this sounds like hopeless government inaction, but look at all of you sitting in this room. You're a consortium. We can do the same thing. Create a consortium of interested parties who will do three things. First, accumulate available data on the problem. One of the most vexing problems I faced in my job when I was first assigned this task was that it was almost impossible to tell what was going on in other states because the information was all in silos. You had to figure out who in Colorado was dealing with banking, who in Colorado was collecting the tax revenue, how long had they been doing that. So there was a 6-month period of mind-numbing, almost boiler room type calls to the 29 states in the country who have some form of legalization to just gather the right data so that we could start asking the right questions. And as staff to this group, explain to them the questions they needed to ask to the witnesses that were being brought to these public hearings. The second thing this consortium will do is obvious, and that is lobby the Congress to change the law. Earl Blumenauer, congressman from Colorado, has introduced a bill, the Safe Banking Act. I can't remember, I've got a brain freeze of what the acronym is for. But it would provide a safe harbor to banks providing banking services to cannabis businesses. It is despite the fact that it has about 30 co-authors, it is languishing in the U.S. Congress. So that needs some political steam put behind it. That's the second role of the consortium. And it can't come just from you. Think about that for a minute. It's got to come from others. You're already dealing with a product that is tainted with this stigma of being Schedule 1. And we have a Republican Congress. So we need to get other folks involved. We need to get bankers involved, asking for clarity. We need to get government officials at the state and local level involved, asking for clarity. We need to get law firms, accounting firms, Folks who are peripheral businesses to your businesses. If you're going to thrive, you're going to need an accountant and a lawyer and an insurance agent. They all need to be part of this process. The third is probably not as obvious as the second, and that's to also take the information gained in leg one, which is gathering information in a repository, and start proposing best practices to the bank regulators. Bank regulators don't get paid to solve this problem. We're going to have to solve this problem. But it means that we have to come together and make proposals to those regulators and lobby for them. And that's what the consortium is designed to do. The state treasurer is going to kick off this consortium. Yep. The state treasurer is going to kick off the creation of the consortium with an organizational call on the 9th of May. And we'll have more to report to you on after that. The fourth one is one that we could probably spend a day talking about, but I'm going to try and artfully dodge. Many in our state have said this problem would go away if you simply had the state form a state bank. Instead of having a bank in the banking business, the state should be in the banking business. And in fact, as we speak, there's a bill working its way through the legislature right now, SB 930 by Senator Bob Hertzberg, that would do something that waddles and quacks a little bit like a state bank. That is, it's not inconsistent with what the Treasurers Group recommended. The Treasurers Group recommended if you think being in the cannabis business without a bank is hard, just try putting the state in the banking business, okay? So we want to study that, and we don't want to study it to death and make it go away. But if we're going to put you, the taxpayer, at risk by capitalizing an organization that state bureaucrats are uncomfortable with or inexperienced with, we doggone well better have good evidence-based policy making behind that. So right now, we are in the process of doing a procurement for a two-part study on the legal elements of forming a state-backed financial institution and a feasibility study, commercial feasibility study from folks that are more expert than we are in the banking business to say, if you chose to do that, what would it look like? All right, so let me conclude by telling you that there is good news. Really, there is. This was a huge step forward, huge step. We now have other states engaging with us on this. We have 9 other states have agreed to join the consortium. This stone is not gathering moss, it's gathering snow as it goes down the hill, okay? But we have to start with small steps. Meanwhile, you can help. Think about, talk to your bookkeepers and accountants and your attorneys about how to seek and apply sound risk management principles. You heard about that from the insurance broker a few moments ago. Number 3, expect scrutiny. You're going to get it, okay? And that's where number 2 is so important. And then number 4, build the dialogue, not just within your group, but with regulators and with people like our group and the Treasury, which is trying to help you, okay? And we may be maddeningly slow and deliberate in doing that, but I guarantee you we're being very thorough. And with that, I'll be happy to take questions.
Where can we find a copy of that book?
I'll hold it up.
I'll hold it. I'll hold it up. Can you hear me okay?
No.
Okay.
Try it again.
All right. I'm going to hold it up so you can get a look at it. This can be obtained from the State Treasurer's website in a PDF form. If you want one of the fancy glossy copies because you want to put something on your coffee table, leave your card with me and I'll send you one of the fancy glossy copies, okay? But you can get it directly by going to the State Treasurer's website, www.treasurer.ca.gov. In the upper right-hand corner under search, put Cannabis Banking Working Group.
I wanted to thank Tim Schaefer. You know, if we had a different governor here, we wouldn't be dead in the water, you know, under past administration. So I'm glad he's part of the solution.
Hi, ooh, that was loud. Okay, I have two questions. One, the state application requires applicants to disclose their financial institution. Will my financial institution be contacted after the fact?
They won't work together, unfortunately.
Generally, it is my understanding, now remember, I don't work for one of the licensing agencies, but it is my understanding, and you shouldn't rely on this, you should talk to the licensing agency in addition to listening to what I got to say. It is my understanding the answer to that is no. Now, I want to give you an important fact for you to remember, lest you lie awake at night staring at the ceiling saying, oh my God, what happens if they do? Anybody want to tell me how many insured banks there are in the United States right now? Insured banks. Just under 6,000. Just under 6,000. When I started my banking career back in 1968, I was just 4. There were 18,000 banks in the United States. We're now down to 1/3 of that number. So the problem is the banks have gotten very, very large, okay? That's also part of the solution because many banks now, community banks, are the ones that are more entrepreneurial in nature and like you, and will be more inclined to seek out businesses where they can add real value. So the trick there is to keep your wits about you when you do business with your banks. Remember those SARs, those suspicious activity reports? FinCEN, that gobbledygook acronym in the Treasury Department, reports that as of the, I believe it was the 3rd quarter of 2017, might be the 4th quarter, memory's failing, there were 400 insured banks in the United States were filing SARs because they were doing business with cannabis-related businesses. Think about that for a minute. It's not 10% because we've got just under 6,000 banks, but there are 400 of them. So somebody out there is doing it. Somebody out there is following the Cole guidance, the FinCEN guidance, and they're doing risk management instead of risk avoidance. The trick is how to find that bank, okay? And that's when you put that on your license, just be aware that that may have to change. That answer your question?
No, but one more. I'm so sorry, I wrote it down. Oh, when you speak of, and everyone speaks of public banks, will, if such a bank would be created, would it be limited to just cannabis?
It's unclear. Your industry has urged us to think about it in those terms. As a public official and somebody who has some experience in the banking business, I'm a skeptic of that. The same way I would be a skeptic if you came to me and said, we want to form a bank for the purpose of We want to form a bank for the purpose of dealing with photographic film companies like Kodak. Well, when I was a young guy, Kodak was a high-flying stock. Anybody want to know where Kodak is now? We're in a digital age now. So one of the things you're concerned about when you form a bank is that you not unnecessarily put the bank at risk to a single industry. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means you should proceed cautiously. That's why this feasibility study is so important, so that policymakers understand that if they go down that road, that it introduces some risks that they may not be aware of.
All right, guys, we're a little over, so we've got about 2 more questions. If somebody has any more questions, do about 2 more.
So,
You have trucks, well, you have trucks driving around picking up tax money from businesses. Where do you put the money if you can't put it in a bank?
Where do you put the money if you can't put it in the bank?
The state tax money, I'm saying.
yeah, it's an excellent question. Generally speaking, the banks will give the state a pass on this. However, we don't take that for granted because there's some nuance to this. The nuance is we're not going to take that cash to the bank. We're going to take that cash to a cash room operated by the armored car company. Not our facility, not the bank. The armored car facility will then count the money down, break it up, lock it up, put it on a pallet, and truck it over to the Fed, and electronically credit the state's accounts with it. That's what we hope to see happen. Because if we can make that happen, then the next incremental step from that gets significantly easier.
Isn't Colorado doing something like that now? 73, etc., safe harbor?
The question is, isn't Colorado doing something like that now? Yes, a derivative of that. Colorado originally proposed creating a state-chartered credit union, and at first the credit union was denied a master account at the Federal Reserve Bank, which essentially was the death knell for the credit union. The proponents of the credit union in the state of Colorado took it up on appeal, and now it's being negotiated out. So it's not yet fully operational, but you're onto the right idea. And we were inspired by that, because I spent a lot of time talking to people in Colorado.
Somebody's got a good, she's got a good system over there.
Yes.
You know who she is.
I do. We actually had her as a witness at one of our public hearings.
Last one was right here.
Okay, I was going to piggyback, I guess, on that last one. Do you think that as banks start to embrace digital currencies, we might have this problem of shipping money around removed? Also, what I really cared about saying was that when we actually remove the Schedule 1, do you think that things will happen pretty quickly and emergency regulations will have to be put into place? Or maybe there'll be a little more planning where once Schedule 1 is removed, they'll actually have it ironed out further?
Can you repeat that?
Okay, there was a twofold question, and that is, can I synopsize? First, is digital currency an answer? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. And secondly, when, not if, when you come off of Schedule 1, will this be, will this be a big bang and things will happen in a big hurry? Or will there have to be some type of a regulatory framework created to control the chaos? I'm going to answer the second one. Is that a fair characterization of your question?
Yeah.
I'm going to answer the second one first. I don't know. I'll answer the first one. I bet you don't have many people in government say that to you, do you? I'm going to answer the first one this way. I think cryptocurrencies are really cool if you're an aficionado of Bitcoin. If you're in the government tax collection business, they're a horrible idea, okay? Pull a dollar bill out of your pocket when this meeting is done and look in the upper right-hand corner, just above the black seal, and you will see a legend on that dollar bill that says, This note is legal tender for payment of all debts, public and private. Bitcoin doesn't have that. And therein is the problem. It would require such an enormous overhaul of our tax collection system and our national payment system to stabilize Bitcoin. Because remember, the Federal Reserve occupies a very unique role in providing stability to our currency. So we don't have that apparatus around cryptocurrencies, and thus I think they introduce more risk than they do solving problems, as intriguing as it may be. Thank you all for your time and your attention.
Thank you. Please give Tim Schaefer another round of applause for all our traffic managers through this course. I will say, I did notice a trend between him and Bill Nye. I think the people who wear bow ties must actually have a little bit more intelligence than the rest of us. So we're going to have to start doing that from now on. Thank you. Yeah, and any other questions, he'll be sticking around afterwards. So, got a couple more things. Thank you all so much for sticking around. I know we're a little bit late, but I did promise a couple candidates that if they came, they'd have a couple minutes to speak. So, any candidates' offices, if you could, I'll just come up. We'll just do this real quick. And then we do have a couple raffle items to give away too. So, stick around just a couple more minutes, and we'll get out of here. Yeah. So, this is Patrick McFarland running for City Council in Chula Vista.
Thank you very much. And I'm excited that the City Council in Chula Vista just passed in February their ordinance to legalize cannabis, and it actually can be potentially the largest marketplace for cannabis in San Diego County. So that's actually really cool, and I'm really excited about that. We're only waiting for the tax measure in November. As far as my race goes, I am the only candidate in my race that has publicly supported the legalization of cannabis in Chula Vista. In fact, some of my opponents have either been against it or they avoid that topic when they're asked that question. So that's very unfortunate to see and to hear about that. I'm also the only candidate that has a plan in place of what to do with the tax revenue, and that we should divert it to Parks and Recreation Services, public safety, as well as economic development for Chula Vista, because we are lacking economic development in our city. This race that I'm in is actually going to be a very tight race. It's going to be very intense, and I need all the help that I can get. So if you like what you heard, or if you have any more questions, feel free to contact me after the meeting, or you can visit my website at www.patrickmcfarland.com. Thank you very much.
Good evening, my name is Adam Rubin. I'm a criminal defense attorney here in San Diego, and I'm hosting a fundraiser for the Democratic candidate for district attorney tomorrow, Mrs. Jones Wright, at a bar downtown called East Village Tavern and Bowl from 5:30 to 9. Hope to see you all there.
Thank you. And for those who don't know about the district attorney's race, we all need to support Genevieve Jones Wright. She's an awesome candidate. Summer Stephan, who is the current DA right now and also running against Genevieve Jones Wright, is actually prosecuting one of our good friends, Jessica McElfresh, who has been a long-time criminal defense attorney in the cannabis space. So that race is incredibly important. So please go talk to him afterwards and make sure you go to that fundraiser. Sorry? Our attorney, exactly. Okay, so yeah, now we'll get to some of the raffle off. So to highlight some of the guests that we have coming to the Cannabis Village, we have a couple books by Ed Rosenthal. So we got a good number here. If everybody has your raffle tickets, please bust them out now. All right, so the first number here is 281235. 281235. Yeah, Ed Rosenthal will also be there all day on Sunday too, so he'll be able to sign all these ones. Okay, another one. Yeah, we're running through this quick, so can't wait. 235? Yep, come up and grab it. All right, yay! All right, next one is, this is another book by Ed Rosenthal. It's called Marijuana Grower's Handbook. And this one is 281261. 281-261. Okay, awesome. Great. You. 281-261 now? All right. Make sure you're not lying to me. All right, cool. There you go. Thank you. All right, next we have 2 tickets to the Urban Leaf Bake Festival taking place on 4/20. They're $35 each, so $70 value. And this one is ripped. I think it would be 281-221.
But no.
No, it says 5 cents.
Only missing 8 in another number. So I'm going to say it's 281-221 or 282-221. Okay, here we go. Just make sure it looks kind of the same. Yep. Great. And 2 more tickets. It's always fun giving stuff. To the 2 more tickets to the big thing, and that one is 281-217. 281-217. All right. Cool. Thank you. Okay. Then we got 2. So we'll do. We have 2 tickets to the VIP at Cannabis Village. That is worth $100. And that is 281-225. 281-225. No. 281-225. 281-225. All right. 281-228. 281-228. All right. All right. Well, I don't actually have the physical one, so I'll take your name and we'll figure it out afterwards. Perfect. Sorry, it's a little anticlimactic there. All right, and lastly, we have 2 tickets to the Bud Traders Ball. I believe it's in LA. Those are worth $1,500 each, so a $3,000 value there. And that's a black tie event taking place up in, I believe it's in LA. That is 281-222. 281. All right, there we go, Dave.
Big winner.
All right. Oh, and actually, it's perfect that David won this. So David is the one that does our printing, and so while he's up here too, if you just want to kind of show off the bags that he helped us make here. So these are the T-shirts and the bags that we have for all the VIPs at Cannabis Village. So all the T-shirts, posters, all the goodies you can go and take place in these bags.
And I didn't win this because of this.
That just is very convenient. So it reminded me to highlight this.
So it's official, Lucas Nelson's playing.
Sure. So we can't say it online, but yeah, Lucas Nelson and the people that be there playing.
It says on the shirt, I saw it.
You mean Willis?
I saw it, it's on the shirt.
You mean Willis? Willis Nelson.
So it's Lucas, so we can't promote it all online or anything like that, but Lucas Nelson and Promise of the Be Real is going to be our headliner. Lucas Nelson is the son of Willie Nelson, and he's going to be playing with Neil Young's band. So that's going to be the headliner for Cannabis Village. So, okay. All right, so yeah, that's what I got. So thank you all so much for coming out today. Another round of applause for our guest, Deputy State Treasurer Timothy.
And for the time into the battery's dead. So yeah, once again, thank you so much, Stone Brewery, for having us. Please go and grab some drinks to show them how grateful you are for having us here. Thank you, guys.